1760, England. The Countess of Coventry dies at age 27. Not from disease, not from accident, from makeup. Her skin cracked open, covered in oozing sores, her brain slowly poisoned by the white lead paste she spread on her face every single day. Today, we're exploring the deadliest beauty trends in history. Lead makeup that melted your brain, arsenic baths that destroyed your organs, corsets that crushed your ribs, foot binding that broke bones. People did this voluntarily for beauty. If you think modern beauty standards are intense, subscribe now because it gets so much worse. Chapter 1. Venetian Ceruse, the makeup that killed queens. Pale skin was the ultimate status symbol, and people were willing to poison themselves to get it. Because this wasn't just vanity, this was class warfare painted on your face, and it killed thousands. 16th century Europe. Pale skin means you're wealthy. It proves you don't work outside like peasants. Tanned skin, you're poor. You labor in the sun. So the wealthy need to be as white as possible. Enter Venetian Ceruse, the miracle product, also known as spirits of Saturn or Blanc de Plomb. The main ingredient? White lead. Yes, toxic white lead, mixed with vinegar to create a paste. They literally painted poison on their faces daily for years. The application process was intense. First, apply a layer of egg whites to help the paste stick. Then spread thick white lead paste across your entire face, neck, and chest. The result? Ghostly pale skin, perfectly smooth, flawless, for about 4 hours. Then it starts cracking. Solution? Apply more layers, thicker, every day. Queen Elizabeth I was famous for it. She used Venetian Ceruse to cover smallpox scars from a near-fatal illness in her 30s. By the time she was 60, she was applying it so thickly that ambassadors reported her face looked like a white mask with cracks. But Elizabeth wasn't the worst case. Maria Gunning, Countess of Coventry, born 1733, celebrated as one of the most beautiful women in England. She was obsessed with maintaining her pale complexion, applied Venetian Ceruse constantly, multiple times per day. Her husband reportedly begged her to stop. Doctors warned her. Friends expressed concern. She didn't care. Beauty was worth it. By her mid-20s, the effects were visible. Her skin began to crack. Not just fine lines, deep fissures, open sores that wouldn't heal. The lead was destroying her skin from the outside and poisoning her body from the inside. 1760. Age 27, Maria Gunning dies. Cause of death? Lead poisoning from cosmetics. And she wasn't alone. Hundreds, possibly thousands of wealthy European women died from lead makeup. But the symptoms started long before death. Hair loss. Lead poisoning makes your hair fall out. Women wore elaborate wigs to cover it. Tooth decay. Teeth turned black and rotted. They painted them white or wore false teeth. Skin damage. The makeup that was supposed to make you beautiful was destroying your face, so you applied more to cover the damage, creating a vicious cycle. But the worst effects were internal. Neurological damage. Lead crosses the blood-brain barrier. It literally damages your brain cells. Symptoms? Memory loss, confusion, aggression, paranoia, hallucinations. Reproductive harm. Lead causes infertility, miscarriages, stillbirths. Babies born to mothers using lead makeup often had severe birth defects. Organ failure. Lead accumulates in kidneys and liver. Eventually, they stop functioning. Reduced IQ. Lead exposure permanently lowers intelligence. The more you use, the dumber you become. So, to recap, to look beautiful and wealthy, aristocratic women painted their faces with a substance that made them lose their hair, teeth, fertility, intelligence, and eventually, their lives. Fashion. The crazy part? People knew it was dangerous. As early as the 1600s, doctors were warning about the dangers of lead cosmetics. Didn't matter. Social pressure was too strong. If you wanted to be taken seriously in high society, you needed pale skin. Some women tried alternatives, rice powder, chalk, flour. But these didn't work as well, didn't make you as pale, didn't last as long. So they went back to lead. Venetian ceruse wasn't fully abandoned until the early 1900s. That's right, women were still poisoning themselves with lead makeup into the 20th century. It only stopped when synthetic alternatives became available, and even then, some diehards refused to switch. But if you think painting lead on your face is extreme, wait until you hear about the people who bathed in arsenic. Chapter 2. Arsenic baths. Poisoning from the inside out. The Victorians took the pale skin obsession to a new level of insanity. Because they didn't just put poison on their skin, they ate it, bathed in it, drank it. Victorian England, 1800s. The pale skin trend is still going strong. But some people want more than surface-level whiteness. They want their skin to glow from within. Enter arsenic, a deadly poison. Also, apparently, a beauty supplement. Yes, people consumed arsenic on purpose, for beauty. Arsenic is so toxic that a dose the size of a few grains of rice can kill you. The Victorians knew this and consumed it anyway. The method? Arsenic wafers. Small tablets containing tiny amounts of arsenic, marketed as complexion wafers. Advertisements claimed they would whiten your skin, remove freckles and blemishes, give you a luminous glow, make you look ethereally beautiful. What they actually did, damaged your liver, destroyed your kidneys, caused vomiting and diarrhea, made your hair fall out, eventually killed you. But wait, it gets worse. Some wealthy Victorians didn't just eat arsenic, they bathed in it. Arsenic bath salts were marketed as skin treatments, dissolved in bath water, absorbed through your pores. The theory, arsenic would lighten your skin from the inside out. The reality, you're soaking in poison for an hour, multiple times per week. Your skin is your largest organ. It absorbs things. When you bathe in arsenic water, you're poisoning your entire body. The effects were cumulative, slow. At first, people might actually see results. Their skin would look slightly paler. They'd attribute it to the arsenic. Actually, they were seeing early signs of poisoning, reduced blood flow, damaged capillaries. Your skin looks pale because it's dying. Then the serious symptoms start: chronic fatigue, nausea, stomach pain, skin lesions, nerve damage, organ failure. By the time you realize the arsenic is killing you, the damage is irreversible. Some Victorian women died from arsenic poisoning. Others suffered permanent damage. And the saddest part? They often didn't connect their illness to the beauty products. They thought they were just naturally sickly, delicate constitutions, Victorian vapors. Nobody suspected their complexion wafers were destroying them from the inside. But at least lead and arsenic users were adults making their own terrible decisions. The next beauty trend was inflicted on children. Chapter 3. Foot binding. Breaking bones for beauty. Some beauty standards don't just damage you, they permanently cripple you, starting in childhood. Because foot binding wasn't about makeup you could wash off. This was breaking bones and reshaping feet forever. 10th century China. A new beauty standard emerges. Tiny feet. The ideal? Lotus feet. About 3 to 4 inches long, roughly the size of a young child's foot, on an adult woman. How do you achieve this? You don't grow feet that small naturally. You break them, bind them, force them into an unnatural shape, starting in childhood. Girls as young as 4 to 6 years old would have their feet bound. 4 years old, still learning to walk properly, and you're about to destroy their feet forever. The process was brutal. First, soak the feet in a mixture of herbs and animal blood to soften the skin and bones. Then bend the toes underneath the foot, tightly, forcefully. Break them if necessary. Wrap the entire foot in tight bindings, so tight the child can barely stand the pain. The child screams, cries, begs you to stop. You don't stop. This is for her future, her marriage prospects, her value as a woman. Leave the bindings on for weeks. Tighten them regularly as the swelling goes down. The bones break, heal in the wrong position, break again as you tighten further. The arch of the foot collapses inward, the toes curl completely under, the heel and toe nearly touch. Over months and years, you create the lotus foot. 3 inches long, unable to support the woman's body weight properly, causing a distinctive swaying walk that was considered graceful and attractive. Let me be very clear about what's happening here. You're deliberately crippling young girls, breaking their bones, deforming their feet, causing chronic pain for their entire lives, for beauty. The effects were catastrophic. Chronic pain for life. Every step hurt. Some women could barely walk. Infections. The tight bindings cut off circulation. Toes often became gangrenous, had to be amputated. Inability to work. Women with bound feet couldn't do physical labor, which was the point. It showed you were wealthy enough that your daughter didn't need to work. Spine and hip problems. The altered gait put enormous strain on the lower back and hips, causing arthritis and chronic pain. And yet, this practice continued for nearly 1,000 years. It wasn't fully banned until the early 20th century, and even after the ban, some families continued in secret. Why? Because unbound feet made a woman unmarriageable. If your feet were natural-sized, you were considered ugly, coarse, low class. No respectable family would let their son marry you. So mothers bound their daughters' feet to give them a chance at a good marriage, even though they knew it would cause lifelong suffering. But foot binding wasn't the only way fashion crippled women. Let me tell you about the corset. Chapter 4. Tight lacing. When fashion crushes your organs. The Victorian ideal wasn't just pale skin, it was an impossibly tiny waist, and achieving that waist meant crushing your internal organs with bone and steel. The 19th century, the hourglass figure is everything. Tiny waist, full bust, wide hips. But most women don't naturally have 18-inch waists, so you create one, artificially, with corsets. Not the gentle, supportive corsets you might wear today. Victorian corsets were weapons, reinforced with whalebone or steel, laced so tight you could barely breathe. The practice was called tight lacing. The goal? Reduce your waist by 4 to 6 inches, sometimes more. If your natural waist is 26 inches, you're aiming for 20 or 18. The smaller, the better. The method? Put on the corset, lace it as tight as possible, then tighter. Some women had servants pull the laces, using their body weight as leverage. The result? You can't bend at the waist, can't take deep breaths, can barely sit down. But you look fashionable, so it's worth it, right? Wrong. Here's what tight lacing actually does to your body. Crushed ribs. Constant pressure can actually deform your rib cage. Some Victorian women had permanently altered rib structures. Displaced organs. Your liver, stomach, and intestines get pushed downward, compressed, forced into unnatural positions. Breathing problems. You can't expand your lungs fully, leading to shallow breathing, frequent fainting, lack of oxygen to the brain. Digestive issues. Compressed stomach and intestines make digestion difficult, leading to chronic constipation, nausea, and malnutrition. Muscle atrophy. The corset does the work of your core muscles, so those muscles weaken from disuse. Some women wore corsets so long they couldn't stand upright without them. Their back muscles had atrophied completely. They were structurally dependent on a garment that was actively harming them. Deaths from tight lacing were documented. A fractured rib puncturing a lung or liver, severe infection from pressure sores, organ failure from prolonged compression. And pregnancy while tight-laced? Catastrophic. Increased risk of miscarriage, stillbirth, and maternal death. Doctors warned against it. Medical journals published studies on the dangers. Fashion magazines ignored them. Society demanded tiny waists, so women kept lacing tighter. But internal organ damage is subtle. The next beauty trend left visible, horrifying scars. Chapter 5. Radioactive Beauty, when cosmetics glowed literally. The early 20th century brought modern science to beauty, which meant adding radioactive materials to cosmetics. Because radiation was new, exciting, cutting edge. Surely it's good for you. 1920s to 1930s. Radiation is the hot new thing. Radium was discovered in 1898. People didn't fully understand it yet, but it glowed. It must be magical. So they started putting it in everything, including beauty products. Thoradia, a French cosmetics line, contained thorium and radium. Marketed as revolutionary, scientific, the future of skincare. Advertisements promised it would rejuvenate your skin, remove wrinkles, give you a youthful glow, make you more beautiful than ever. What it actually did was bombard your face with radiation every single day. Other radioactive products? Radior, radium-laced face cream, applied directly to your skin. Doramad, radioactive toothpaste. You brushed radiation onto your teeth and gums. Vita radium suppositories. Don't ask, just don't. People used these products for years before realizing radiation was deadly. By then, the damage was done. The Radium Girls, factory workers who painted watch dials with radium paint in the 1920s. They were told the paint was safe. They'd lick their brushes to make fine points, ingesting radium daily. Within years, they started dying. Horrible deaths. Bones disintegrating. Jaws literally falling apart. Radiation-induced cancers throughout their bodies. And yet, even after the Radium Girls cases became public, radioactive cosmetics remained on the market. Because the beauty industry doesn't care about your safety, they care about profit. These beauty trends ended eventually, but what drove people to poison themselves for appearance? Why beauty kills. These weren't isolated incidents. They're a pattern spanning thousands of years. Understanding why people did this reveals something disturbing about beauty standards and social pressure. Why would anyone voluntarily poison themselves, break their children's bones, crush their organs? First, social status. In every case, these beauty standards separated the wealthy from the poor. Pale skin meant you didn't work outside. Tiny feet meant you couldn't do labor. Tight corsets meant you had servants to help you dress. Beauty was class warfare. Second, marriage prospects. For women especially, appearance determined your entire future. Unmarriageable meant poverty, social rejection, being a burden on your family. The choice was poison yourself and maybe get a husband, or refuse and definitely die alone in poverty. Third, it was normalized. When everyone around you is doing something, it stops seeming crazy. If every aristocratic woman wears lead makeup, it's not poisoning yourself, it's just what you do. Fourth, short-term thinking. The effects weren't immediate. You apply lead makeup today, you look beautiful today. The brain damage comes later. You bind your daughter's feet at age 5, she suffers at age 5, but she'll have marriage prospects at age 15. Future consequences felt abstract. Present beauty was concrete. So that's deadly beauty, when looking good could kill you. Lead makeup that poisoned your brain, arsenic baths that destroyed your organs, foot binding that crippled children, corsets that crushed ribs, radioactive face cream. These weren't accidents. These were deliberate choices, driven by social pressure, class anxiety, and beauty standards that valued appearance over survival. We like to think we've evolved, that modern beauty standards are better. But are they? Or have we just replaced lead with different poisons, replaced foot binding with different ways to alter our bodies? So the next time you feel embarrassed about a cringe fashion trend you followed, just be thankful it didn't give you lead poisoning or break your bones. If you enjoyed exploring the absurd and deadly side of beauty history, hit that subscribe button, because we've got more historical insanity coming. Drop a comment. What's the most extreme thing you've done for beauty? Because I guarantee it's not as bad as bathing in arsenic. See you next time, where hopefully we discuss beauty trends that don't require warning labels.